All right, so now that you know how to solve a problem in the form of ax squared plus c equals 0, we have to move on to x squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And this is going to be a more complicated process to be able to arrive at your answers. If we're given x squared plus 8x plus 15, what we're going to do is we're going to take the factors of 15. So I'm going to write those down over here. And we're going to have 1 and 15. We're going to have 3 and 5, and then that's going to be it. So what we're going to be looking to do is to figure out what are the factors of 15 that add to the number 8. So you go over here and you look at, you've got 1 and 15. If you add those together, you get 16. Then you've got 3 and 5. If you add those together, you get 8. So the ones that you want to use are 3 and 5. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to figure out when we write our factors. We're going to be writing our factors as binomials. And so you need to figure out what are your signs going to be inside of your binomials. What this sign tells you here is that your signs are going to be the same. So if you have a positive here, that means the signs are the same. If you had a negative sign there, then that would tell you that your signs are going to be different. Then you look at this sign. And this sign tells you that if they're the same, they're both going to be positive. If the sign were negative, then it would tell you that both signs are going to be negative. Now, in the case where you have this sign is negative, this one tells you that the bigger one would be positive. If it were negative, then the bigger number would be negative. So all I'm going to do now is figure out, what am I going to do with this x squared? Well, the x squared is just going to become x and x. Then, since I know that both of my signs are going to be positive, I'm going to put pluses right after the x's. And then I'm going to put a 3 and a 5. Okay? Now, the way to check yourself on this is to go ahead and FOIL it back through. If we were to FOIL this through, we would get x squared plus 5x plus 3x plus 15. And that's going to give you x squared plus 8x plus 15, which is our original equation, or our original expression. So we know that the factors x plus 3 times x plus 5 are correct. Anytime that you do these problems, my first suggestion would be to ask yourself the question, what are the factors of this number that add to this number here, so negative 11? So you would be asking yourself, what are the factors of 24 that add to negative 11? So eventually you're going to be able to do this in your head very, very easily. But until that happens, again, go ahead and write down all of your factors. So you're going to have 1 and 24, you're going to have 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. So again, you're saying, what are the factors, these factors here, that add to 11, or eventually to negative 11? So if we add 1 and 24, we get 25, so it's not going to be that pair. 2 plus 12 gives us 14, so it's not that pair. 3 plus 8 gives us 11, so that is the pairing that we want to go with. Now we just need to figure out what are our signs going to be inside of our parentheses. So what we know is we're going to bring down an x and put it in each of those binomials. Then we're saying to ourselves, this positive tells us that our signs are going to be the same. This negative tells us that both signs are going to be negative. So we're going to put a negative in both binomials. Then our pairing was 3 and 8. And since both of these signs are the same, it doesn't matter where we put them. So we'll just put the 3 here and the 8 here. Now, to check and see if we did this correctly, let's run this back through FOIL and see if we get the same expression that we started with. X times x is x squared, negative x, negative 3x, and positive 24. So you get x squared minus 11x plus 24. So you can see that we get the same expression that we started with, so we know that those factors, x minus 3 times x minus 8, are the correct factors for this problem. Now in problem number 3, you're going to notice that instead of having a positive in front of our c value, we now have a negative. So that is going to change how we do things just a little bit. So this time I'm actually going to start with my signs rather than going to my factors. I'm going to go and put in and figure out what are my signs going to be based off of this. So I know that this negative tells me that the signs are going to be different. And then this positive tells me that the bigger number in my factor pair is going to be positive. So I'm going to go ahead and put a positive there and a negative there. And I'll just go ahead and take care of these x's and put them there. Okay? So I've already got half of this problem done. Now I've just got to figure out what are the factors of 15 that subtract to 2. So I'm going to come over here and again write down 15, and I've got 1 and 15, and I've got 3 and 5. So if I subtract these, I'm looking for the number 2. 15 minus 1 is 14, so it's not that. 5 minus 3 is 2, so I know that my factor pair is 5 and 3. Now I just have to make sure that I put them into the correct binomials. So I'm looking for a positive 2. So that means that I want the bigger number in my factor pair to be the positive. Well, the bigger number in my factor pair is 5, so I'm going to put the 5 in that binomial where the positive is. I'm going to take the 3 and put that in the negative one. Now again, I want to go back and check to make sure that I've done this correctly. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. 5 times x is 5x. So you get 5x minus 3x is positive 2x. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. So we end up with every term being correct. X squared minus 2x, or x squared plus 2x minus 15. So I know that this factor pair is the correct pairing for this expression. Problem number 4 is a word problem, but we're not going to worry about the word problem part of it. We're just going to look at the factorization and see if we can get the factorization done correctly. We're given the expression x squared minus 2x minus 35. So again, I'm going to go ahead and start with setting up the parentheses first. And I've got a negative sitting in front of the c term, which means that my signs inside of these parentheses are going to be opposites. I'm going to have one positive and one negative. The fact that this is a negative 2 tells me the bigger factor within the factor pair is going to be negative. So it doesn't really matter if I do x plus and x minus, or if I do x minus and x plus. Remember, multiplication can be done in any order. I'm going to come over here and write down 35, and I'm going to do my factor pairs for 35. So I get 1 and 35, and I get 5 and 7. And those are going to be the only factor pairs that I've got for the number 35. So I go ahead and ask myself the question, what are the factors of 35 that subtract to 2? So if I go over here, 35 minus 1 is 34, so that's not it. 7 minus 5 is 2, so I know that this is the factor pairing. Now, in order for me to get the correct solution, what I've got to do is I've got to make sure that my bigger factor is the negative one. So the bigger factor in this pairing is 7, so that 7 is going to go there, and the 5 is going to go there. So if I go back and check this, x times x is x squared. X times negative 7 is negative 7x. 5 times x is 5x. So negative 7x plus 5x is negative 2x. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. So I do get the original expression, which was x squared minus 2x minus 35. This means that the binomials x plus 5 times x minus 7 are the correct factors. In problem number 5, they're throwing in a little bit of a complication to see if they can rattle you a little bit. But you just got to think your way through this. We're going to do the same process that we've done on all 4 of the other problems. So we can go ahead and start with figuring out what are the signs going to be for this. So I've got a negative here, which tells me that the signs are going to be opposite, and the bigger factor pair is going to be positive. So I'm going to go plus and minus. I've got an x here, which I'm going to bring down, and I've got an x here, which I'm going to bring down. Now the thing that they're trying to rattle you with is this y squared. No reason to get scared by that. All you have to do is put a y in right here and a y in right here. Once you've done that, it's just the entire process that you've already learned how to do. So you're going to say, what are the factors of 55 that subtract to 6? So the factors of 55 are going to be 1 and 55, and 5 and 11, and that's going to be it. So if you're looking at what are the factors of 55 that subtract to 6, 55 minus 1 is 54, 11 minus 5 is 6, so I know that this is going to be the factor pair. Now, what I'm looking for is, since this is a positive, the bigger number within that factor pair is going to go behind the positive sign. So the bigger number is 11, so I'm going to put an 11 right here. The smaller number is 5, so the 5 is going to go in behind the negative. So let's go ahead and FOIL this out just to make sure that we've got the correct answer. X times x is going to be x squared. X times negative 5y is negative 5xy. 11y times x is positive 11xy. And 11y minus or times negative 5y is going to be negative 55y squared. Combine like terms, x squared, and then plus 6xy minus 55y squared. And you can see that these two do match up. So we know that this factor pair right here, x plus 11y times x minus 5y, is going to be our correct factor pair. All right, so the last thing that we're going to do in this section is to take our factors and turn them into answers. So remember that your factors are always going to be inside of parentheses. Very, very important for you to remember, because you're going to see those directions on your quizzes and your tests. I'm going to ask you, what are the factors of such and such expression or equation, and you're going to give me the parentheses. If I ask for the answers, that's going to be this process that we're about to do. So if you've got 4t plus 1 times t minus 2 equals 0, and I ask you to give me the answer, here's how you're going to do it. You're going to apply something called the zero product property. All it means, a very big product name or a very big property name, all it means is that you're going to take this one and you're going to set it equal to 0. You're going to take this one and you're going to set it equal to 0. And then you're going to solve it. So you're going to take 4t plus 1 and make it equal 0. You're going to take t minus 2 and you're going to make it equal 0. And then you're going to solve those independently from each other. So subtract 1, 4t equals negative 1, divide by 4, and so t is equal to negative 1/4. So that's one of your solutions. Then over here, add 2, and you get t is equal to 2. So your solutions are t is equal to negative 1/4 and t is equal to 2. And that's all you have to do when going from factors to answers or solutions. So make sure that when you're giving me answers or solutions, it's a number. When you're giving me factors, it's in parentheses. So let's do the entire process starting with an equation. So you're given x squared plus 8x plus 15. You see that this is in the form of x squared plus bx plus c. This means that you have to do factors. You can't just go and solve for x. So we're going to ask ourselves, what are the factors of 15 that add to 8? So hopefully you've done enough of these by now to know the factors of 15 that add to 8 are 5 and 3. So I'm going to do 2 positives, because that's what my equation is telling me. I'm going to put an x there and an x there, and then the 5 and the 3, doesn't matter where they go, because you're going to get the same result no matter what. So now you've got x plus 5 times x plus 3 equals 0. Apply the zero product property, or just simply set each factor equal to 0. So you get x plus 5 equals 0 and x plus 3 equals 0. This gives you x equals negative 5 and x equals negative 3. And that's going to be the solution to your problem.